Welcome to Sports House Podcast. I'm Chase House. Man, we have some good football this weekend. I'm so excited. There is a lot of good games. We have the NFL playoffs, 6 games this wild card weekend instead of the usual 4. And then we also, on Monday, the national championship game between Alabama and Ohio State. There is some good football this weekend. I couldn't be more excited. My team isn't in the playoffs, but there's so many good games and so many intriguing matchups. I'm going to go over all the wild card games this weekend as well as make predictions. The Rams might not have their QB. The Browns won't have their head coach. Just normal 2021 things. And Kyrie Irving not playing for the Nets because he didn't want to. Seriously. As well as a game on Nickelodeon, so we'll get into all that. Let's start with the NFL playoffs. We have 6 games this wild card weekend instead of the usual 4 because remember they added 2 extra playoff teams this year, one in the NFC, one in the AFC, and only the number 1 seed in each conference gets a bye. So we have 2 more playoff games this wild card weekend. And my favorite team's not even in it, but I am so excited. The most intriguing game on the schedule, I think, would have to be the Baltimore-Tennessee game, just because of the implications of last year's postseason and the history between those two teams. That game is going to have a lot of rushing in it, and basically whoever runs the ball better is going to win that game. Derrick Henry is an MVP candidate this year, and in my mind, should be the NFL MVP. But it's always going to go to a quarterback, and so my money's on Aaron Rodgers winning the MVP this year. But Derrick Henry has had an amazing season. Rushed for 2,000 yards this year. If you've watched any games, you can see how hard he is to bring down. Baltimore knows more than any other team. But I like the Ravens in this game. I just think that Lamar Jackson is going to find a way to win this game. Just the same way how he willed his team into the postseason to begin with. I think he's got a lot to prove. And I think the Ravens have a lot to prove and get that monkey off their back that they can't win in the postseason. They're playing the team that upset them last year in the playoffs. So there's just extra fuel added to the fire in the Ravens. And for that reason, I think Lamar Jackson is going to have a crazy game. The Ravens and Titans are ranked 1 and 2, respectively, rushing the ball this year. There's going to be a lot of rushing yards in this game. I'm talking there could be possibly like 600 rushing yards in this game. The Baltimore Ravens had 400 yards just last week, and the Titans nearly had 300. So both teams are going to run the ball, and it's going to be fun to watch. Derrick Henry versus Lamar Jackson, especially with all that happened last year, all the history these teams have, and the rivalry that's building between them. But I like Baltimore, 34-31. The 7 seed Indianapolis Colts take on the 2 seed Buffalo Bills. The Colts went 11-5 this year. The Buffalo Bills 13-3. The Bills are a legit Super Bowl contender this year. They have a fantastic defense. Josh Allen is playing MVP caliber football. The Bills look good. They're going to be hard to beat. I do think this game is going to be close, though. Phillip Rivers, as much as I can't stand the guy, I think they're going to make it competitive. Old man Phillip Rivers is really going to have to man up if the Colts are going to have a chance. And I don't even know if he can. I don't think that guy has any testosterone left. I mean, considering he has like 25 kids. But we'll see. But I don't think the Colts are going to be able to keep up with the Bills' offense. So I got the Bills 35. I just think Josh Allen and the Bills are too hot right now for the Colts. The Cleveland Browns at 11-5, they're the 4 seed, taking on the 12-4 Pittsburgh Steelers, who are the 3 seed in these playoffs. These teams just played each other in Week 17. The Steelers, who sat a lot of their players. The Browns, who were missing a lot of their players. They needed to win to get in, and they did. Obviously, this is one of the 2 divisional games that we have in Wild Card Weekend. We have the Steelers and the Browns, but we also in the NFC have the Rams and the Seahawks. These games I both think are going to be really close games. Divisional games usually are. I think they're both one-score games. And the Browns, they're hard to only the Browns can get screwed over how they have. The Cleveland Browns are going to be without their head coach, Kevin Stefanski, in this game, as he's on the COVID-19 list. They're also short one of their key offensive linemen in this game due to the coronavirus. So, this is the game that I'm least confident on because I really don't know how the Browns are going to play without their head coach. But I still think that the Steelers are overrated. I haven't thought that they were that good the whole season. And because of that, I think the Browns are still going to find some way to win this game. I think it'll be close. Divisional games usually are. I think the Browns will find a way to win 28-25 over the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers, they just can't run the ball. They've been terrible at running the ball all season. They're a huge pass-first team, and they tear up bad teams, but I just don't think that they're all that great of a team, and I think the Browns, despite everything that the NFL has thrown their way, I feel like they're going to find a way to win this game. Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers take on the Washington football team, who host this game at 7-9 due to the fact that they play in the NFC East. The Buccaneers went 11-5 this year, but only 1-5 against teams that made the playoffs. And this is including losses to the Rams, the Kansas City Chiefs, the Saints twice, which one of them was a slaughtering 38-3, in which they couldn't do anything. A loss to the Bears, which, by the way, have just one more win than the Washington football team. And their one win against the playoff team came against the Green Bay Packers, so it is notable. But they haven't played good against playoff teams this year, and Tom Brady hasn't played good against playoff teams. He threw 30 touchdowns, 3 interceptions against non-playoff teams. But against playoff teams this season, he threw 10 touchdowns and 9 interceptions. So a significant drop-off when facing playoff teams. And Tom Brady has never really done well under pressure. And that is the biggest reason that I think the football team gets the upset win against the Buccaneers. And it might seem far-fetched, but it's really not that far-fetched when you look at the stats. The Washington football team, their defense is elite. They rank third in pass D, second in yards per game allowed. They allow the third fewest completion percentage, third lowest yards per attempt, fewest passes of 20-plus yards down the field. They're fourth in points per game on defense, second in yards per game allowed, seventh in takeaways, sixth in third down percentage, and fourth in the red zone. And Alex Smith, 5-1 since returning as the starting quarterback. And how great of a story would it be for Alex Smith and head coach Ron Rivera, after beating cancer this year, to make the playoffs and beat the heavily favored Tampa Bay Buccaneers? It would just be a perfect year to cap off all the storylines that those two have. And the only other two teams in NFL history that had a losing record and made the playoffs both won their first game. The 2010 Seattle Seahawks with the Beastquake run and the 2014 Carolina Panthers both had 7 wins and both won their first playoff game. As I see Tom Brady struggling against the Washington football defense, and I think Custom Inc., Disney Channel team, gets the win. 27-23. Disney Channel original movie, Go Team Go. That's what their name always reminds me of. Fans in the crowd holding up signs that just say Go Team. Speaking of Disney Channel, there's going to be a game aired on Nickelodeon this wild card weekend. The Chicago Bears and New Orleans Saints game It'll be broadcasted on CBS too, I believe, but it'll also have a broadcast available on Nickelodeon. There's going to be so many confused children just watching some talking dog show and then busts out the Chicago Bears at the New Orleans Saints. It's so random, but I'm all for it. I love Nickelodeon, I love cartoons, and I love the NFL, so I'm all for it. And it just reminds me of the Nicktoons basketball game that they made. So I love I love the Nickelodeon being involved with sports. And if you remember Nicktoons hoops, then you're a real one because that game was legendary. And I still have that game, and I think I'm gonna start playing it again. So I'm gonna watch this game on Nickelodeon. If you mix SpongeBob and football, that's 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 me. That's really the only way to put it. But I'm all for that. So I'm gonna be tuning into that game on Nickelodeon and seeing what that's all about. The Chicago Bears, they started the season 5-1 and finished 8-8 and somehow still made the playoffs. I mean, I guess it's 2021, so really shouldn't be surprised about anything. And they're only the second worst team in the NFC playoffs behind the Washington football team. But the Bears, they're just not a great team, and the Saints have better numbers across the board, offensively and defensively. Alvin Kamara has been a touchdown machine, and receiving, rushing. I mean, he's a dual threat player, and I don't think they're going to be able to shut him down. They're also missing Roquan Smith. He's not going to be in this game. He got hurt last week for the Chicago Bears. I think that's a big hit defensively, and I don't. Mitch Trubisky, to his credit, He is playing the best football of his career, but I don't think it's going to matter. The Saints are my pick to win the Super Bowl. I think Drew Brees is going to go out Peyton Manning style with a Super Bowl victory. So I don't think the Bears really have a chance in this game. The two did actually meet in the regular season, and the game was close. It went to overtime. The Saints still won 26-23. Mitch Trubisky did not play in the game. Nick Foles was the quarterback. But if anything, I think Mitch Trubisky being in the game only makes it worse for the Chicago Bears. In my opinion, I think Nick Foles is a better quarterback. But I mean, Trubisky has played better, so actually has an over 90 QBR since returning to the starting lineup. But I still don't think it's going to be enough. Drew Brees has struggled since coming back from his injury, but last week I think he got it turned around as he threw for 3 touchdowns, no picks. They were without Alvin Kamara for that game, out with COVID. Alvin Kamara has been a touchdown machine this season, and he's got over 1,600 scrimmage yards. I don't think the Bears will be able to keep up, especially without Roquan Smith. They also haven't had Michael Thomas for the majority of the season this year, and they still won 12 games. And he'll be playing. So I really think this one's a runaway for the Saints. I think they win this game big, 38-19 over the Bears. And then we have the 10-6 Los Angeles Rams taking on the 12-4 Seattle Seahawks in Seattle. Another divisional game, which is going to be tough like always. These teams split the season series, and this is going to be a close game. This one's going to be fun. Jared Goff, still, we don't know if he's going to be able to play in this one with his thumb injury. John Wolford played last week, and they won that game against the Cardinals 18-7 with Wolford in there. Wolford, who led the XFL in passing, could be their quarterback going into Seattle. This game, I'm not sure exactly who's going to win this game. They're so evenly matched, but I'm leaning towards Seattle 27-23 over the Rams. I just think that Russell Wilson is going to find some magic and get his team into the end zone enough times to win this game, especially if the Rams aren't able to have Jared Goff available. The Seattle Seahawks defense has struggled immensely this season, but they've played better as of late, and being at home, I think they'll be able to get it done. And by the way, Russell Wilson, 5-0 at home in the postseason for his career. The stage is set for the national championship game. Ohio State taking on Alabama. 7-0 Ohio State taking on 12-0 Alabama. Ohio State beat Clemson last week. I was surprised by that. Justin Fields balled out. 285 yards, 6 touchdowns in that game. He did throw a pick, but Ohio State ran all over Clemson from the very beginning of the game, and they finished the game off 49-28. There was a lot of speculation about whether or not Ohio State deserved to be in the college football playoffs. I still don't think that they should have been, just because of the amount of games that they have played. And anybody that knows me knows that I'm not a fan of the college football playoffs. I don't like how they do it. I don't like how there's only 4 teams decided by the committee, giving the same teams year after year the highest opportunity to get in the championship. And I just think it really takes away from the sport to have certain teams that from the beginning of the season aren't even going to have a chance to win the championship. But nonetheless, I'm still super excited for this game. It's going to be a great game. Alabama at 12-0. Ohio State is 7-0. The game will be played in Miami on ESPN at 6 p.m. Mountain Time. I'm leaning towards Bama just based on the fact that they're Bama. Talk about the receivers that have came out of there. Jerry Jeudy and Ruggs last season in the draft, first rounders. And now they have the Heisman Trophy winner, Devontae Smith. Justin Fields, we know he's going to come out firing. I think this is going to be a really high-scoring game. I'm taking Bama 42, Ohio State 38. I hope it's that good of a game. I mean, if we can have that much great football through Monday, that'll be like the perfect weekend. Kyrie Irving was nowhere to be found last night during the 76ers game, and I mean that literally. In a tweet by Joe Varden, he said, Steve Nash said he does not know why Kyrie Irving won't play tonight against the Sixers, as in he is unaware of what Kyrie Irving's personal issue is. Nash said he reached out to Kyrie and did not hear back. But I actually have some inside intel about the conversation, so take a listen.
No, I don't really feel like it.
But I don't understand. You have the grill, and the spatula, and the comfy chair. I rubbed your putrid feet.
Tell you what, Half Pint, why don't you ask me later?
It's just funny that it's happening to another team. As a Celtics fan, I can just laugh about it because this is exactly just the kind of things that Kyrie Irving does. And it's just funny that it's happening to another team, and it's actually funny for once instead of depressing. Kyrie Irving just didn't want to play, so he didn't. And, that's Kyrie. That's what you get when you take on Kyrie. By the way, the Nets won that game against the top-seeded 76ers. They beat them without Kyrie Irving or Kevin Durant, 109-122. And that just brings me back to the Boston Celtic days. That is all I have. So until next time.